It was absolutely magnificent. Just when you think you know everything that the armory can do, this very simple or ostensibly simple idea of flooding it with water completely changes the environment and turns it into something that's so beautiful and surreal. That moment at the beginning when the matte black floor slowly starts to change, maybe imperceptibly at the beginning, as this inky black water begins to fill the space, is quite incredible. And I was really struck by how the audience was so hushed and joined together in a kind of collective meditation of this rising water. I've seldom seen something quite as beautiful.
I was very taken by it, partly because it seems to be a very indeterminate thing. It's not really certain whether it's a music concert or an installation or a theatre piece. So it sits somewhere in between these three things. I was very taken by the idea of, not so much actually the idea of the relationship between music and water, because that seems quite an obvious idea in the sense that, particularly with this music, you really have this kind of feeling of flows and of surges, eddies and currents, enormous waves. But I was taken by something else that was watery, which was this incredible sense of music that's placed somewhere in between a great cavern, a void, and a shimmering reflection of a vaulted ceiling. So you really didn't have a sense of where the music was coming from. It was this kind of groundless thing, and I thought that was a really beautiful visual feeling or idea to work with and to play through this music.
It's an incredibly uncanny show. You're in the dark, and you think you're hallucinating. It seems like the floor is crying. You're hearing this incredibly powerful building that bespeaks wealth, authority, military heft. You look away for a while, and you look at the person around you, and you sort of look back. And what do you see? These leakages, these ruptures, these spurts of water. Where have they come from? They seem to creep incrementally, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. And I found myself to be incredibly torn, feeling sorrow for the floor and for the space, feeling that it had been punctured, that it had been bruised, and then also feeling on the side of the water, thinking of it as a kind of migrant, as a kind of yearner, wanting to move, wanting to find companionship, to join another stretch of water, another puddle, to engulf the space. I close my eyes, I look around, and the water is growing ever more.
There are so many players in this particular piece. The building is one, the music is one, the light is so dominant and affects everything that's happening at every moment. And there are moments when all matter seems to dissolve into mist. I think those were my favorite moments of all, because probably those are most like what one imagines the unconscious would be like if everything could dissolve and one were just completely present. So between the sound and the visual, the ambiance is so powerful. It reminded me so much of, Freud writes about the uncanny as spring, which appears completely unexpected and without any explanation in the middle of a field. And in some way, when the water started coming into the building, it was as if this hidden spring just emerged from nothing and slowly took over everything. And there are very few things which are so completely sensorial that every part of you is engaged. And I think this piece succeeds in being all of that. And in a sense, one never wants it to end in the way you never want a dream to end if you're completely engaged in it.